He thought he could betray me with my own sister and get away with it. He had no idea I was already planning the perfect revenge. My name is Rachel. I'm 32 years old, and I work as a graphic designer for a marketing agency. I've always been a bit of a perfectionist. Color coded planners, vision boards, Pinterest worthy decor, you name it. I believed in building a life that looked just as beautiful as it felt. And for a long time, I truly thought I had it all. I was married to my college sweetheart, Daniel. We met during our sophomore year at a campus art exhibit where I was sketching in the corner and he came over to compliment my work. From that moment, it felt like something out of a romance novel. 6 years of marriage later, we had grown into what most people saw as a dream couple. We traveled often: Paris, Santorini, Tulum. We had spontaneous date nights, deep late night conversations, and a shared dream of starting a family. Just 3 months ago, we bought a beautiful 2-story house in a quiet neighborhood, and we were actively trying to conceive. Everything seemed to be falling into place. Then there was my younger sister, Mia. She's 27, a bartender by night, and a whirlwind of energy by day. Where I was calm and calculated, she was impulsive and fun-loving. We used to be inseparable growing up, sharing clothes, secrets, and dreams. She was the maid of honor at my wedding, cried more than I did during my vows, and called Daniel the brother she never had. Over the years, Mia had become more of a visitor than a constant in my life, but I still adored her. She'd drop by occasionally, usually bringing wine and stories about her latest dating disaster. At least, that was how it used to be. It started small, subtle. Daniel, who had always been attentive and affectionate, began to change. He was suddenly working late more often, and when he was home, he was glued to his phone, texting with a strange urgency, hiding his screen, or turning his phone face down on the table. When I asked who he was talking to, he always gave vague answers: coworkers, a group chat, something about a project. Our intimacy began to wane, too, something I attributed to stress from work or maybe pressure from trying to get pregnant. I didn't want to nag, so I kept those feelings to myself. Around the same time, Mia started showing up more frequently. At first, I was happy to see her more. It felt like old times: girls' nights, wine, and gossip. But then I noticed how often she came over when Daniel was home, and how their energy seemed different. They laughed a lot, shared inside jokes I wasn't part of, and exchanged looks that lasted just a second too long. I brushed it off, told myself I was being paranoid, maybe even hormonal. But the gnawing feeling in my stomach wouldn't go away. One evening, I picked up Daniel's phone while he was in the shower. I wasn't proud of it, but the anxiety was eating me alive. I didn't find anything explicit, but there were text threads with no names, just phone numbers. Messages like "miss you already" and "same time tomorrow" made my blood run cold. I confronted him, and he laughed it off, saying it was probably a friend joking around. He even accused me of not trusting him. I felt embarrassed for doubting him, but the seed of doubt had been planted, and it started growing. One rainy Thursday evening, Daniel told me he was going out with coworkers for drinks to celebrate the end of a big project. I kissed him goodbye and pretended not to worry. An hour later, I realized I had forgotten to bring in a package from my car. When I stepped outside, umbrella in hand, I spotted a car parked 2 blocks away. Mia's car. I'd know it anywhere. The bumper sticker that said, "Stay weird," and the slight dent on the passenger side. Why would Mia be in our neighborhood, alone, at night, in the rain? That night, I didn't sleep. I started paying closer attention to every interaction between them. The next time Mia came over, I noticed she was wearing a dark gray hoodie that I knew belonged to Daniel. I had bought it for him for his birthday 2 years ago. When I asked about it, she brushed it off and said it was just something she found in her trunk. Daniel didn't even look up from his phone. Later, when I mentioned to Daniel that I felt Mia was overstepping by coming over unannounced so often, he became defensive. He said she was going through a hard time and that I should be more understanding. The way he snapped at me wasn't like him at all. It all felt like gaslighting. The warmth between them wasn't sisterly or brotherly. It was something else, something that made my stomach twist. But I wasn't ready to believe it. Not yet. Bit started as a regular Sunday afternoon. I had just returned from visiting my parents, a 3-day trip meant to help Mom recover from minor surgery and catch up on family time. We'd FaceTimed, and he'd texted constantly, telling me how much he missed me, how he couldn't wait for me to come home. But something felt off. I couldn't place it at first. The way he avoided eye contact when I walked in, how he quickly closed his laptop when I entered the room. My gut twisted. I knew that feeling, that subtle shift in atmosphere. Something was wrong. That night, after Daniel fell asleep beside me, I sat in the dark living room clutching a mug of cold tea. My eyes drifted to the bookshelf, where we had hidden a nanny cam in a decorative vase. We'd installed it months ago, part of our plan to start a family. Something discreet, just in case we ever needed to check in on a babysitter. I don't know what possessed me, but I opened my laptop, accessed the footage, and started scrolling back to the days I was away. It didn't take long. Day 2, 3:47 p.m. Daniel walks in with someone. My heart stilled. It was Mia, my sister, my baby sister. I watched, frozen, as they sat on the couch, laughing, touching each other too much, too familiarly. Then, without hesitation, Daniel leaned in and kissed her. Not a friendly kiss, not a 1-second mistake, a slow, intimate, practiced kiss. I slammed the laptop shut, my body trembling. But after a few minutes, I opened it again. I needed to know. I had to know. For the next 6 hours, I watched footage, clip after clip, of stolen moments. Her coming over when I wasn't home. Him brushing her hair from her face like he used to do to me. Her sitting in his lap, whispering in his ear. The camera caught it all. It wasn't a one-time lapse in judgment. It was an affair. And it had been going on for weeks, maybe months. I cried until my throat hurt and my head throbbed. My chest burned with betrayal. I wanted to scream, to wake him up and throw him out that second. But instead, I sat in the stillness of that night and made a promise to myself. They would regret it. The next morning, I put on my usual work clothes, kissed Daniel on the cheek, and told him I loved him. I smiled the way I always did. I made pancakes. I even complimented Mia's latest Instagram photo because I needed them to believe I knew nothing. That day during lunch, I met with a lawyer. I explained everything: the nanny cam, the footage, the betrayal. She was kind but focused, professional. She told me what I needed: documentation, bank records, timestamps, proof. So I got to work. I opened a separate bank account at a different branch. I redirected my direct deposit. I started saving every text between Daniel and me, taking screenshots of every sweet lie he told. At home, I mirrored his phone to my tablet, using an old trick he once taught me when syncing our calendars. I monitored his messages with Mia. Their cutesy nicknames, their inside jokes. I learned Mia had applied for a prestigious marketing job in New York and was trying to present herself as a mature professional now. No scandals, no drama, no loose ends. That little fact would come in handy later. I even planned a small weekend getaway for me and Daniel. A couple's retreat in the mountains. It gave me more time to observe him, hear him lie to my face, and, ironically, collect some new footage. I recorded a phone call he had with Mia where he said he wished he had never married so young and that she was the only person who truly understood him. I spent nights compiling a digital folder labeled Insurance. Inside were time stamped video clips, photos from the nanny cam, text messages, and audio recordings. Every lie, every secret, every moment of betrayal. Organized, categorized, waiting. Once I had everything I needed, I began the final phase, the setup. I sent out digital invites for a surprise promotion party. A little white lie. I told everyone I'd finally landed a senior role at my firm, which wasn't technically true, but no one questioned it. I invited family, friends, colleagues, including Mia and Daniel. I called it a celebration of the people who helped me get here. I even printed elegant invites with gold trim. In the days leading up to it, I told Daniel how much I appreciated him, how he'd been my rock through everything. I thanked Mia for being such a supportive sister, and she replied with her usual fake, sweet tone. She had no idea what was coming. I hired a caterer, rented out a small but beautiful rooftop venue, and ordered a projector and screen. But the best part? I had printed blown-up screenshots from the nanny cam footage. Daniel kissing Mia. Mia sitting on his lap, one of them holding hands in my kitchen. I edited a short 2-minute slideshow with background music. Dramatic, but not over the top. It started like a typical party video. Happy photos of me, Daniel, and Mia over the years. Family vacations, birthdays, childhood snapshots of me and Mia. Then, without warning, the screen would fade to black, and the first kiss clip would play. Then the next, then the screenshots, and finally one of Daniel saying to Mia over the phone, "She's so oblivious. I think she still wants a baby with me." Followed by Mia laughing and saying, "Well, let her keep dreaming." I rehearsed my speech in front of the mirror. Thank you all for coming. Tonight isn't just about me. It's about love, truth, and the people who stand by you. So, I made a little something to show how much I value the people in my life, especially Daniel and Mia, who've been so close to me lately. And then I would click play. I printed the screenshots too, mounted on boards and draped behind a velvet curtain that would be unveiled right after the video. Every detail was planned. Every lie was about to burn in the brightest spotlight. And I would finally get the closure and justice they both never thought I'd be smart enough to demand, because believing it meant accepting that my picture-perfect life was a lie. The day of the party arrived. It was meant to be a celebration, a casual garden gathering with fairy lights strung across trees, soft music playing, and tables filled with food and drinks. Friends, coworkers, and family mingled, laughing and sipping champagne under the summer sky. No one suspected that the night would take a devastating turn. The narrator, dressed in a simple but elegant dress, stood near the patio with a gentle smile on her face, greeting everyone warmly. When the moment felt right, she tapped the microphone and asked for everyone's attention. "I just want to take a moment," she began, her voice calm and composed, "to express how grateful I am to have such wonderful people in my life. And tonight, I especially want to honor two people who mean the world to me, my husband, Daniel, and my sister, Mia." Applause erupted. Daniel looked touched. Mia smiled, unsuspecting. "And so," the narrator continued, "I put together a little slideshow. Just a few memories. I hope you'll all indulge me." The lights dimmed. A screen lit up. The first images were sweet and nostalgic. Family trips, anniversaries, holidays, warm memories. But then, gradually, the tone shifted. The pictures became more intimate. Screenshots of flirty texts between Daniel and Mia. A blurry photo of them kissing in her living room. Dates, timestamps. The background music cut. People began to murmur, then gasp. A stunned silence fell over the crowd. The final slide appeared. "This is what betrayal looks like from the two people I loved most. The silence was deafening. Her mother clutched her chest and fainted. Her father screamed at Mia, his voice filled with fury and heartbreak. Daniel stammered, stepping forward, trying to explain, "It wasn't like that. It was complicated." But no one was listening. Mia, her face pale and eyes wide with shock, burst into tears and ran out of the backyard. Guests stood frozen, unsure of what to say. The narrator simply handed the mic back and walked away, head high, heart pounding, but a strange sense of peace settling in. The fallout was immediate. The next morning, she filed for divorce, armed with all the evidence she had gathered. Thanks to the documented betrayal and her meticulous planning, she gained full ownership of their shared house, most of the joint assets, and even got the judge's sympathies. Daniel was left stunned, his life unraveling faster than he could comprehend. Mia didn't fare much better. Word of the scandal spread like wildfire, especially since some guests had secretly recorded the slideshow and posted it online. A high-profile job offer Mia had been excited about was rescinded within days. Her social circle shrank overnight. Friends distanced themselves, not wanting to be caught in the fallout. Their parents were shattered. Her father refused to speak to Mia. Her mother, humiliated and heartbroken, eventually asked Mia to move out and take some time alone to reflect. The once inseparable sisters were now complete strangers. And Daniel, once the love of her life, became nothing more than a bitter memory. With the divorce finalized, the narrator packed up her life and moved to a new city. She found a small but cozy apartment overlooking a park, and for the first time in years, she began living entirely for herself. Therapy sessions helped, but she also poured her emotions into writing. What started as a private journal turned into a blog titled Betrayed But Not Broken. It gained traction quickly. People resonated with her raw, honest take on healing, revenge, and self-discovery. Eventually, she started a podcast interviewing others who had faced betrayal and emerged stronger. Sponsors reached out. Her story went viral. She was no longer just a woman scorned. She was a voice for thousands, a symbol of resilience. Years passed. One day, she heard through an old mutual friend that Daniel had lost his job, racked up debts, and was living in a cramped apartment alone. Mia had tried rebuilding her image, but remained estranged from most of the family. Bitterness followed them like shadows. Meanwhile, the narrator had bloomed. She found love again, someone kind, respectful, and utterly different from Daniel. Their relationship was built on honesty and laughter. As they prepared for a baby of their own, she often reflected on how far she had come. Looking back, she felt no regret. "Sometimes the people you'd take a bullet for," she wrote in her final blog post, "are the ones pulling the trigger, but I've learned something more powerful than revenge. I've learned who I am without them." She didn't regret the party reveal. She didn't regret the public fallout. It hadn't been about humiliation. It had been about truth, about finally taking back control of her life in a moment where everyone could see her pain and her strength. Her revenge hadn't just been public. It had been liberating, a clean break from the lies, the deceit, and the illusion of love that wasn't real. "I may have lost a husband and a sister," she concluded, "but in the wreckage, I found something better. I found myself." And for the first time in a long, long time, she was finally free.